Um, Welcome, Praveen and Harsh, and thanks to all the audience here. Uh, this is a part of our IRMAN talks, and we have Praveen Kumar Singh from PRM 22, who is the CEO of IRMAn, and he's going to speak on social security issues for urban poor. And this session is going to be moderated by Harshvardhan, who is also from PRM 22 and Praveen's batchmate. This session is going to be recorded, and once we get approval from Praveen and Harsh, we will put it on the YouTube. The format today is we will start with a 5-minute introduction by Mr. C.P. Mohan, who is the present IAA president. He will talk about some IAA activities, and then Harshvardhan will take over the moderation. I believe this session is to be like Q&A session, and I will request both Praveen and Harsh to take over after Mr. Mohan's address. Thank you very much. Mr. Mohan, after you.
Yeah, thank you so much. We are not able to play that that PPT, right?
You can
That's fine.
You can screen share. You can.
Oh, I'm actually quite handicapped because I'm outside.
Let me try. I will try to.
I just send it across to you today so that you don't miss it. So, friends, thank you so much. Thank you, Richie, for starting this, and thank you, Ritesh, for giving me this opportunity to be here. So why I'm here is, apart from listening to you, which is far more important, is because of a suggestion that from the community, some of us suggested that each time we engage with the community, it could be a good idea to speak a few words about our association. So very quickly, we had started this association by some of our, very senior batches in the year 1985. And we are registered primarily as a charitable society under the 1860 Act. But being in Gujarat, every charitable society is automatically deemed a trust under the Bombay Trust Act. And therefore, we are also a trust. And normally our compliances would go to the Assistant Charity Commissioner at Anand. So that is briefly what the constitution of our society. This being a charitable society and a deemed trust, we have significant challenges in managing our accounts because there are a lot of ambiguities in how the income tax visits any of the monies that get paid into it. So at present, we are managing it very cautiously. So so that's something which why some of the monies would be spent through IRMA, why the income would not be showing certain, we actually operate the capital account as well as the income account and so on and so forth. But these are all because of, I don't want to, elaborate it here. We will, if you have questions, please come back to us. Why I'm making these statements today is because we have just put out the annual general body notice, and the draft financial statements are available to you. So get back to us whichever way you need. and let's discuss it in the AGM. So the AGM notice is out. The second thing is we have a brand new committee which took over in the month of March. And I think all of you know, uh, uh, can we go ahead? So these are the committee members. There are 13 elected members these days under the amended bylaws. And we have Hitesh as the vice president, and I think all of you know the members. We have Richie as the secretary, and Archana, the women rep. We have moved an amendment in this AGM to there's a revision in the nomenclature that would be associate vice president, gender and equal rights, reserved for women. I hope that passes through. And then we have the reps all over the countries and the world. Shweta is the joint secretary. We have now 2 reps from the international community. One is the European and the Europe and US, and then the rest of the world other than India. So all these are, even though we are so old, there is a lot of our association which is still evolving, and we are actually on a stabilization path. Yeah, next one, if you can please, yeah. So this is something which I urge all of you to do, that is to register on our website and also participate in it, update your current designations, where you're located, what is your sector, and so on and so forth, so that when we have events, sectorally focused events, or we are looking for experts, or somebody wants to connect in sectors and so on and so forth, the kind of information would be available to everybody. The more and most important reason why I request all of you to register on the website is because the institutional memory, the availability of the historical evolution of our association, and the smooth interactions between all communities. We have chapter opportunities, sector opportunities, all kinds of, you can search for your batch persons, and this will be available to you across a long period of time. Whereas WhatsApp and all are ephemeral things. Most of these social media stuff are very ephemeral. It will disappear very quickly. You lose a phone and you lose most of it. So my humble request is that please register. It's a very simple process, and update your data. Uh, it is irmaalumni.org, and once you enter there, you'll find all of it. Yeah. Next, if you don't mind, please. So just to give an update on what's happening at our end from the EC's, some of the reports we'd like to give you. We just launched the consecutive second year of the group health insurance policy. Saturday, Sunday being holidays, and the data cleansing and recon took a little while. The underwriting has been done, but the policy issue would come on Monday morning. They're closed. The insurers are closed on Saturday, Sunday. And therefore, that would come on Monday. But the cover is on as of now from 0 hours of 19th. Today, early morning, it kicked in. And if at all there is anything which has happened, unfortunately, and if there is anything that is, that is caught up in process, please contact any of us personally. Our numbers are very well known. You can write to IAEC@irma.ac.in, and we will immediately respond. There is a substantial amount of scaffolding available to respond to any of your needs. Then we have announced the AGM. Please look at the AGM notice. One update on Aditya Vardhan, who fell from a height. I had I could visit him once at the hospital. He is now discharged. He is at home. In fact, they have rented a house at Delhi, but he will need a very, very long rehab. He is, is still comatose. There is significant improvement, but then there is ups and downs. Uh, Probably they might, we might be looking at some more financial support for him. Um, and lastly, all I want to tell you is there is a conclave which is planned, and we have renamed it. We have named it as the Change Makers Conclave, and this will be focused on all those who work in the rural sector and the special sectors and the impact sectors. Today's talk itself is on child and so on. So those are the sectors we're focusing on this year. Request everybody to participate in numbers on the 26th of November, 2023. That is the birthday of Dr. Kurian, and that is the date on which these conclaves will happen. Last year also, it happened on the same day. But that's all from my side. Thank you so much. And this initiative, I would request Ritesh, Ritesh or Richie, if she is here, one of you to come in and quickly give a heads up on how this initiative started. From the IA, we would like to express our gratitude to Richie and Ritesh for curating it and holding it up. And I understand that the calendar for these talks are full for almost up to December 2024. And this is a great initiative, and this is another of those events or experiences that will keep us bound together. Thank you so much. I will not take more of your time. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mohan. Harsh and Praveen, you may like to start. Thank you.
Thank you, Ritesh. And it is my privilege and honor to welcome my friend Praveen from my batch, and who is going to speak on the subject matter as mentioned, or of urban poor and social security by Ritesh. Praveen has got a distinguished journey in the development sector over last 2 decades, wherein he has worked with the grassroots NGOs, consulted with government, worked with a donor agency, worked extensively with child and urban poor, and presently is heading UpNale, which is a reputed organization based in Mumbai and looks after active mostly in the Shivajinagar blocks of Mumbai, which are one of the most, I would say, underdeveloped slums of the country. And apart from his development journey over number of years, Praveen also has got a very good knack and understanding of the institutional and policy dimensions in the country. And that not only enriches his policy and ground roots experiences, but also gives him a unique perspective which many people in the country do not have. So, welcome, Praveen. It is an honor to have you here. And let's start with a contradiction. We all are graduates of rural management, and we started with our work with focus, our curriculum, and our academic training in rural management. But you have chosen to speak on a issue of social security for urban poor. So why that? I mean, it may sound that why you are more familiar with rural sector, but you have chosen to speak and share your ideas on a urban centric problem. So why this is important for us, and what is the magnitude of this problem this makes this important, and that you have chosen to speak on this. So if you could elaborate on that, I think that audience will get enlightened from your views.
Okay. Thank you, Harsh, and thank you, Ritesh, for giving me this opportunity to talk here. Definitely, we all have studied rural development, but as you know, that migration. So I will start with the migration. People are migrating from rural to urban. Therefore, interventions should also give focus on urban population. And lighter note, I will give more weightage why urban poor is like uh, in current context, why it is in a very vulnerable position, and in coming years, how are you going to see the urban poor? That perspective I want to build it. And then definitely, if we are talking about poverty, vulnerability, or precarity in the urban poor, in today's time, in current years, in coming years, then what kind of social security net which we have, which will like enable and protect the citizens. So I will start with this. We have like existing social security provisions that is with this statement that grossly inadequate to meet the requirement of the urban poor. When in need, even if we'll see it in a need perspective wise, I'm not saying the entire life, even in during the need, when in need, this is inadequate, particularly in the condition of when COVID happened and in mass loss of jobs happened and livelihood loss happened with the 100 million people as per the survey. So I'm saying that what is the vulnerability, what is the poverty in the urban space? And the first thing which I will take is like the migration has accelerated. Migration has accelerated from year 2001 to 2011 as per the economic survey, which has recently come in 16-17. And years to come when migration is going to be a big issue. Several complexities and problems with the both, because one is the migration and the coming years migration is going to grow, and the second one is even instant in the number, exact number, what is happening in the migrations. If we have like two big census in India, one is NSSO and then survey, the census, which is like very old, 2011, and then it is not maybe next year will happen, but even it is of old data, but not able to capture the precise estimate of the migrations in terms of disaggregated data of the interstate and long-term migrations, whether it is short-term migrations or seasonal migrations or circular migrations, because these are going to really create a lots of insecurity for the people who are going to live in the urban poor. Because if we don't know who is coming from where, whether it is within the intrastate, interstate, then how are you going to really develop a social security schemes for the people? And the number which we are, if we only take a sheer number, the number itself, like economic survey in 1617 has estimated the migration is around 100 million, 10 crores of people in a year in 1617, and out of that 55 crore peoples are interstate migration. And when I am giving lots of weightage on interstate migration, it means that the people when move from one state to another state, does this portability is been considered for social security scheme? That become a big challenge, and I will highlight it in later in my discussions. So one is the migration and the growing pattern of the migration is the aspect. The second, if we go much deeper into the kind of work or nature of engagement which they get in the urban setup, in the area where they landed up. Take it a small city, big city, metro city. If you can take example of Mumbai or Delhi, or around the country, the informal employment is hanging around 92% of the total employment. And if we are like 92% are in informal sector and where people are employed, it means that it required lots of regulation by the state for the informal sector, which is not happening. So I will give you some of the example, like do we have, if you have to really make anyone accountable as an employer relationship, we should have should have a written contract, and there is no written contract available between employer and an employer. And if you see with the employer perspective, the small scale operations in the informal settlement, businesses are not so feasible, not so strong, not so highly productive, so that they will be able to secure the security of the people who are working in a set of 10 or 5 or 8 in a small settlement. So that becomes like very much highly insecure environment in the informal settlement. So, and that number is like huge. 92% is really huge. If you go much deeper into the, even if you get some kind of employment, what is how much salary you are earning, and salary is around ways you are getting around is around, and all the data which I am talking about is either from Labor Bureau or Center for Studies, which economic survey which has done, and that says that around 12 10 to 12,000 rupees per month people are getting from informal settlement. And I will definitely talk about the expenditure pattern if the income is in this order. So I talked about migration, growing migration pattern, and I talked about the employment nature of employment. I talked about the wages the people which are getting in urban setup. And now I'm talking about unemployment. Unemployment is like, again, another area where if you see the Labor Bureau's data or Center for Monitoring Indian Economy's data, again, it is not be able to estimate it. Labor Bureau's data says 5% is unemployment, and whereas Monitoring Indian Economy says it is around 8.2%. So there is disparity even in terms of how much unemployment is there. But if you take this unemployment, this is a huge 8%, 10% people who are unemployed in urban setup. And then what kind of security which we are going to build it. So if you see the magnitude of the problem in the urban setup, that is coming from these numbers which I am just highlighting. Even if someone is like getting employed less than 12 months of job in a year, is like 35.6% are not able to get 12 months job in a year. And all this data is coming from the government record, Center for Monitoring and Indian Economy data suggests. So, and I'm just trying to bring the context that how social security is, how much social security is important, and what kind of social security should be inbuilt. That will definitely going to cover it. And when we are saying that all this, what are the implications of this? Whether it is unemployment, low wages, contract worker, hire and fire is very easy. Then the bigger implication is the inability of the workers to deal even the minor economic shocks happens. And human being, definitely it is like inevitable. And predominantly and that results into, in urban setup in Mumbai we say chheda bhai is like single male or single women or female will migrate, and they will compromise made on their living conditions, meeting their food requirement, health related needs, to send some remittance back to their natives. So it will create like a huge problem for the person who is living in the informal settlement. If and there are like data during the COVID which says that even Bihar state government has collected data from the people who migrated during the COVID, what kind of occupation they were involved. And they were involved primarily on the construction. The people from Bihar, the data which was collected from the railway station was around 68-70% people were engaged in the construction worker laborers, and they do not have any capacity to absorb these shocks. And interestingly, the most of them, even in the urban setup, there is like caste factor plays, what kind of role which caste is playing, women's role, whether it is really a gender bias in the kind of construction, the labor required in the construction work. So these issues are really, I'm really taking up lots of multiple varied issues, and it may create confusion. Sorry for that, but I am trying to bring that this problem is really very grave and serious, and therefore we need to have a very a strong, rigorous social security scheme, and we need to reimagine the social security schemes in country. So that's all, Hers. Thank you. This is about why the kind of magnitude of the problem and why this urban space.
Praveen, so we traditionally believe cities to be, engines of economic growth. And what you are trying to say and communicate to us is that these engines are built on the sacrifices of millions of invisible people who are migrating from mostly from other parts of India and who do not have any social security scheme, because that portability of social security vanishes once they cross their state boundary or once they cross their domicile.
Mm.
And this number, what you are saying is that, as you had discussed with me earlier also, that in 2035, about 600 million people will live in urban India, and by 2050, about 850 million people will live in urban India. And that will result in huge urbanization of poverty,
Mm.
because most of the people who are migrating, as you rightly said, are from constructed worker background or would not have high income opportunity in the urban settlements. So they will mostly settle in the informal settlements and would have poor social security schemes. So given that, I mean, the challenge which you are pointing out is huge. What are the present social security network which are available to these vulnerable section of population?
Yeah, sure. So when I'm saying that there is social security benefits and schemes available in the country, but approach should be with the three perspective based on the context which we set and the data which reflect. One is that from the perspective of the mobility is very key, is very important. We are talking about crores and crores of people. So mobility for developing any social security scheme should be like the key. Mobility, migrations which involve a change of place, because if you're migrating from one state to another state, one place to another place, lots of documents is not like considered, and you debarred from getting benefit of it. So that is the one perspective should definitely build. Poor the background of the people should definitely be considered. Poor economic, social, and educational background. Poverty, in short, poverty and deprivation should be considered for developing or allocating resources, or mapping any social security schemes. That should be definitely second perspective which should be developed. And then we are saying that value of the labor, if it, even if it is a part of unorganized sector, let's consider them as a big contributor to the GDP. And we are talking about 92% of the workforce, which is an unorganized sector. So give the value of the labor. So on these three perspective, unorganized sectors perspective, poverty and deprivation perspective, and then perspective of the mobility, migration perspective should develop the social security scheme. But if you review the current, which you are asking us, if you see the current social security schemes, let's take from the, because we are talking about on migrations. So there is like an act, interstate migration act in 1970, which is in force. But act does not apply on informal ways of recruitment, which is in practice. So even this act is there in place, but this is not going to be applicable if it is recruited in informal way. And even if you consider that, even if it is applied to someone, it is minimal limited to wage, ensure minimum limited to wages, lives, suitable accommodations, very limited scope is there. And then maximum liability of a registered contract for a registered migrant worker, because you have to register if you are like moving from one state to another state. Then for the registered migrant worker during any crisis, you will get maximum the refund to go back to your native. So that will that provision you will get under the Interstate Migration Act. Do you think this is a sufficient for any person who is like living in such a crisis situation, such a dire need situation, providing the fare to return to his own or her native place? So this is one area. If you see the Unorganized Workers Society Security Act, so first which we talked about, the Interstate Migration Act. Now, if you take as a part of the Social Security Act 2008, is a classic example of highly reductionist in nature. It means that it will only be talking about futuristic point of view. It will talking about the disability, health, maternity, old age protections, but today's struggle, today's struggle of the life, because the social security scheme can help you if things are moving very smoothly, and then if there are expected shocks, then you can be like absorbing these shocks. But entire journey is like full of shocks, then how are you going to only capture by providing disability, health and maternity and old age protections or maternal health services? So that is again very reductionist kind of, I would say it is very limited and reductionist kind of approach of the social security under the act of the 2008, which is unorganized. And even if it is there, it excludes the informal workers. It includes, even in a formal structure, if the people are in the large number, informal workers are there, they will not be considered it. And the construction workers will be not part of it. And I'm saying that like around 67-68% are the recent data which is coming from the Bihar for that state is in the construction worker. That is not going to be covered under the Unorganized Worker Social Act. So that again, that is the another area which is really a concerning. So working now, if you now you must, we all know about in 1920 we have Code of Social Security 2020, which is present in Parliament. Again, I would say it is just a reproduction of what we have reproduced, the same thing which we had during the Social Security Act 2008. It is not going to see you in a holistic way. So and all these acts are like, so one is this futuristic kind of social security which you have. Another is like food and nutrition kind of social security, where you have NAPSA, where you have PDS, where you have midday meal, where Anganwadi, all these services is available. So I will talk more about it on the social security aspect of it. But in short, I'm saying that the entitlement under these schemes have provided, and we should not deny that it has provided some relief in times of emergencies such as death and accidents and disabilities and medical emergency kind of situation. But it required to improve the living standard of the people who are really in need. And this is inspired by because India is one of the signatory of ILO convention, which happened in 1952. And it was there also in that convention, it was very minimalistic standard was followed, that let's preventive measures, which emphasis on measures that help workers on the contingent times. But even if you follow the ILO, which recommended 2012, recently in 10 years back and decades back, that social security should not be seen only with the contingency times, but it should be as a part of the human rights. It should be even ILO has moving beyond treating social security as a protection against certain life risks and social needs, in a more reduction of poverty, inequality, social exclusion, and social insecurity. So in that way, broader framework, even ILO has recommended it to adopt. And even lots of like economists, the generally, when we say that social security we should be keep economic functions and social security functions, or should be seen in a binary. I argue that it should not be seen in a binary, because if economic functions and social security should be seen in alignment, because both are complementary to each other. So until unless that is not ensured, it is really very difficult things to do. So multi-dimensional approach is missing. Inclusive and equity-oriented conceptualization is really missing in the current social security framework. So in short, if I will summarize the problem in the social security schemes in country, one, so I will summarize in 3 words. I will say that it is a reductionism. You are reducing it to make it more effective. You are just focusing on PF, you must focusing on maternity health, you're just focusing on one aspect of health. Then second one, I would say that inadequacy to cross the threshold. Even if you are like, for example, if we are really providing the pension to elderly people, if it is not sufficient, then how do you, is it really making sense to live a dignified life to any human being which is being provided? So what is the threshold which you are trying to build? Is it really going to change the situation? It is going to be change going to create any transformational change in the society, in the economy, or is it just to retain and sustain the process? So it is not going to change the poverty cycle, intergenerational poverty cycle, this kind of security systems. And third one, I would say that it is very ad hoc. It is very situational kind of framework. It is not developed in a comprehensive way. So these are the problem. Sorry, I am sounding a pessimistic, but these are the ground realities. People are appreciating the kind of incentive are being translated on the ground, but it is not really making them a better, even in coming years to or coming generations to come. Yeah, Harsh.
Thanks for your points, Praveen. I remember Amartya Sen repeatedly pointing this out, that human development is all about enlarging human choices. And what you are pointing is that if it's a pension of 300 rupees per month, it doesn't enlarge any choice. If it is 5 kg of ration, these are just basic existential needs. So, at present, the policy framework for India is meeting and targeting the basic needs, or even at the same time, they are just tokenism. And what you are saying that the problem is huge, and the people who are migrating or who need this vulnerable section, they may need a multi-dimensional approach for their problems which they are facing in various facets of their life. So the problems are huge. The social security schemes are inadequate. Human development, of course, is not happening. So then, what is the way forward? What we could do? What we should do rather?
Yeah, definitely. So definitely some of the suggestion which we as a practitioner see that this is the how we should see the social security. Even if we, what you have referred, Amrita Sen and Riz, even they have defined 2 aspects of social security. They said that social security should have 2 components, whether it is protection and promotions. While protection is how will you prevent declining a living standard in general is the protections, and the promotions is like how is going to achieve the higher income and living standards. That is the promotion. So even social security, are you really able to prevent the declining stage of or are you really able to tap the living standard of the people? In terms of how we should see the social security system in India, I would suggest that there should be like 4-5 guidelines which should be seen. How will you like narrowing the gap between, because you should not be like divide formal sector, informal sector. How will you narrow the gap between organized and unorganized sector social security aspects? So one is this, that reduce the gap between organized and unorganized. This is currently, it is like huge. Reducing the social insecurity in everyday's life in the present of ensuring minimum decent standard of life, living standard, ensure that should be the second principles, and creating a machines to mechanism to take care of old age and contingency net, that definitely that is important, and ensuring delivery of social security in ways that it does not disincentivize of the spatial mobility. So if I'm moving from one place to another place for betterment, it should not disincentivize me to do that. So if these are the basic 3-4 principles, if we follow and design and definitely design with a goal that we should meet a threshold level of security, a threshold level security that it should definitely makes a uh, 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 makes a sense to break the intergenerational poverty. In that goal, with that goal, it should be seen. So I would say that how will you reduce the gap between organized and unorganized sector? What is the basic difference? And the basic difference I see is in terms of EPF and employee, two things, EPF and ESI. So ESI is the employees state insurance, and EPF is, as you know, employee provident fund. So these are the two things, CPI and ESI. Why it should be only limited to organized sector? Can't we see as a universal access of both of these benefit across the workers? Because it ensures, even we all know that provident fund creates for every employee based on equal contribution by the employees and employer, whichever will the benefit. And then for the ESI is like extensive benefit to its subscribers to take care of the various conditions from sickness, maternity, disable situations due to death due to employment, death or due to employment injuries or occupational hazards. So these are very good and very progressive in that way. Why can't we implement across for all the workers? So that will definitely reduce the gap between the organized and unorganized sectors. And there could be, like, I'm making this comment with all the knowledge, in keeping in my mind that it required a huge financial implications, and develop. And there are examples which are really doing it. This kind of arrangement where you have provision for your workers, CPF and ESI kind of facilities with the workers. So I'm saying the government, why government can't create a separate welfare fund to meet the cost of employers' contribution, and if the worker is self-employed or casual, or whenever the employee is not really able to in a position to pay the contribution, that why can't we, like, paid by the state and take the responsibility by the state? So that is the one. But in short, the universalization of EPF and ESI would also is very important to do it. And when I say that there are examples, I'm not saying that this is like completely new thing. In Kerala, they have demonstrated the feasibility of delivering PF, gratuity, and employment relief, social assistance, and insurance cover of life to similar to what EPF and ESI offers to range of unorganized workers in the Kerala. And in Maharashtra in itself, in the very near to me, near to Mumbai, it's a Mathadi Workers Welfare Board. It is really a wonderful case study which has created a huge impact, and it is working since 1969. So I'm saying that why can't we, like, explore in that direction to, if we have this kind of model in our country, to see the unorganized sector in a better way. And only these kind of EPF ESI is not going to, like, serve the purpose. I'm also saying that how to improve the living standard or quality of the people who are in the informal settlement or people who are unorganized sectors. And if we are, like, see lots of example, like Odisha and Andhra, they have, like, tie-up between interstate migration for education program, where children are being tracked and children are moving from one state to another state. Then the children are not missing their children, missing their school time. PDS could be like, and these are the essential social security measures we should take. PDS national food under the national food security, make it universal programs across it, and in that direction, one ration card, one card, one is really very helpful move to develop, because it is really going to solve the issues of portability. Even so, in the EPF now you have a portability options for the organized worker, but if people are moving from one state to another state, this portability option is not able. Even if ISRAM registration card is there, but can we like link with the registration of the workers and consider them as a universal one card member for the entire country, so that people can access the security, national food and grain related security aspects, or educational related facilities, or health related facilities, or to basically improve the living standard. And then if you particularly are talking about the urban poor, and since I am working in Mumbai in various informal settlement, the living condition is really pathetic and horrible. The housing is, so we discuss about the income. Income is like 10,000 rupees for around 85% of workers per month. And if you see the cost of housing, it is go around 3,000 to 4,000 rupees for one room, one kholi, which they have to pay this amount. So 40% of their amount is going on the rent, and that is also not very, like, you don't have any kind of uh, uh, entitlement to it. If you want to take one uh, residence proof or one identity card, you will not have access of this card, because the owner will not give you this kind of NOC to it. So housing becomes a big problem. So rental housing and lots of move has been taken in this urban setup that can be discussed. But I'm saying that in overall gamut of social security, it should not limit, it should not be reductionism. It should be seen in a big way. It should be seen in how to improve the living condition, how to improve the accessibility, how to improve the infrastructure under the slum rehabilitation SRA, slum rehabilitation authority, what kind of like rehabilitation is happening. This should be considered in a totality. It should be seen in a one picture, rather than in a seeing a separate canvas. So these are the few ideas has like portability of the migrant workers, improving the entire sanitation, sewage conditions in the settlement where people lives, ensuring that people have a safe, secure income, people have contingency plan. Uh, that kind of system can be developed. And like in BOCW, if you just talked about the BOCW is like building and other construction work welfare board. uh, uh, it's a very nicely, very good program, BOCW, and like all the workers are being registered for this. But the biggest challenge, it caught up between the bureaucratic setup. So if you are registered in any other state, but if you are working in other state, uh, 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 cess will be there, government fund will be available there, but since it is an interstate migration, your money has been deposited in Maharashtra, but you can't get money in other state because you are registered in other state. That kind of problem is like nonsense. It has no meaning to do it. It can be resolved immediately, but huge number of people are facing this kind of problem. So why this kind of problem really exists? So these are the measures which can be taken immediately, which we are anyway working on it. Thank you.
So, Praveen, few takeaways which I get from what the points you just mentioned. One could be that our present ambit and the scope of social security schemes itself very limited and narrow. And many states and many countries where we see that we have got unemployment benefits guaranteed. There are Scandinavian countries where you get monetary support even for do painting. So it's also what you're trying to say, or what I understand is that as the India is increasing its economic might, as the economy is growing, so should the scope of social security scheme and the ambition associated with it. So the present models which just provide or touch the bare minimum needs also to evolve. One point which you also mentioned, that we are a aging population. So I think there was a speech by Jairam Ramesh few months back in Parliament, where he said that ageism is the biggest problem India is going to face in 8 to 10 decades. Because as our current youth population matures, and most of the states, southern states have already crossed this replacement ratio of 2.1 in population growth few decades back. So by 2035, most will also have the problem of ageism, where most of the people will above 60. So urban vulnerability, life condition, harshness, and ageism all are going to create a plethora of problems. And what I understand also from your talk is that we need to move beyond bureaucratic tangles. We need to make life hassles free. We need to make our these invisible people visible in the decision making, and be more sensitive in our approach.
Yeah.
So if that is okay, then I can request the audience to pose some questions to you, and I will be taking those questions which come in chat. Thank you. So
So,
open for questioning, Q&A session rather.
yeah, Anshul. Anshuman?
Hello, my name is Ansuman Kumar.
Yes.
I am from PRM 30.
Hi, Anshuman.
So I may like there might be some disturbance because I am outside. I am not using my earphone. So my question to you is that is there any technology which can leverage the integration of various different schemes? Like we are talking about poor. So if the poor is going to visit any of the government office for entitlements, he is going to lose the livelihood for the day, and he has to visit the same office multiple times and for different schemes, multiple offices in a year and so on. So is there any mechanism or is there any technology which can leverage not only vertical integration of different schemes, but horizontal integration as well? So that beneficiaries will be knowing that, okay, these are the 10 entitlements I am eligible for. And through a single application or something like that, I can get the entitlement of different schemes without visiting many offices at different times.
Yeah, Anshuman. Definitely, there are like lots of initiative has been taken by the civil society organizations on this. But as you know, civil society organization can create model, but for at state level or for pan India, we need to have like that kind of political will, and that we are seeing in the IRMAn registrations. And this is IRMAn is like totally online registration which you do, and then all the people are recorded in one place, and you will be getting your services. But again, every time, like last time also we did this kind of registrations, but again we started new registrations in the name of IRMAn card, IRMAn card for all the people who are, whether it is a domestic worker or whether any kind of ceramic. But once you are registered, definitely if it is connect with the various scheme, worker need not to be like run from pillar to post for this, because you have the data, you have the record, and currently the data is, and 70% people are not eligible for the social security schemes. Why? Because technology, if we have a technology and if you have a database to record the people who are moving from one place to another place, the people who are engaged in informal kind of workplace, if you recorded every information and then you are linking with the various social security scheme, then it is onus is not with the worker to prove whether you are from Bihar or Kerala or Andhra. It is onus that you are part of this country and you are entitled to get the benefit. And only thing is that it required some kind of identity, some kind of visibility, which I was saying. And the visibility is possible by using a technology, a massive technology can be used to register each and every workers in the country. Definitely that is the solution which I see.
Thank you. So this is not a question. Like what I did, I was working with Mahua, Ministry of Housing and Urban Affairs, and I was in charge of like National Mission Manager for KNULM, National Urban Livelihood Mission. Again, we know that there is poverty in the urban areas and all. So in 2020, after pandemic, we came up with a scheme called PM Swanidhi, where we tried to leverage the technology so that the street vendors can avail loan and they can be linked with the financial institutions.
Yeah.
After some time, we realized that there are so many household members which they are entitled for different schemes, but they are not knowing. So we tried to have interaction with different ministries at the central level. But the challenge was that every ministry was having different forms, and the most of the forms were in the hard copy format, like someone has to fill the form. So digitization of the form was available at many ministry level. Second one, we also tried to integrate the database, like NIC is the custodian of database of various central government schemes. But the challenge was that they were not willing to share Aadhaar because there was a mandate from the government of India that they cannot share Aadhaar without the consent of a beneficiary. But recently, relaxation has been done that, like I was interacting with UIDI director, and they said that now they have given permission to share Aadhaar number with different central government schemes. So once we know that for any database, Aadhaar is the only unique identifier which can tell that, okay, you have availed the benefit of this scheme. So if government comes with this types of policy, means integration of Aadhaar or sharing of Aadhaar with different ministries, then it will become easy at the central level to know that which beneficiaries are eligible for which schemes.
Correct. I'm saying even linking with the one document to multiple other document creates a problem and so on the ground, because we, like in the ground, we see that the either there will be some spelling error or some error in the documentation, and that is coming around 30% in our operational area. People do not able to, like, if you have 3 different documents, you will not be able to match that same detailing in all the documents. So why can't we like make one Aadhaar as a base to provide the entitlement document, rather than linking one document with 5 different documents and then providing? And that kind of challenge we faced during COVID also, when we are not able to access the PDS even in a very dire need situation, because this Aadhaar was not online connected with their system, and the data was not matching, and this and that. And we are talking about only right to food thing. So let's the thing is, how can we reduce this kind of documentation? And because we know that what kind of, who writes the name of the people at the time of registration, you are writing differently, someone is writing differently, and literacy level, literacy creates a problem. So even name creates a problem in different documentation, and that is in a huge in the urban settlement, which we are finding. And people not able to access the services because document is not available, documents are not right, documents are not rightly spelled. And that is the only one point which I wanted to make, that instead of creating multiple document, can we create one registration card and then base the entire social security scheme based on that? Yeah.
Thank you.
Hi, I am Om Prakash from PRM 21. So first of all, thanks for this very insightful lecture, and in this lot of things were said on the urban poor thing. So my query is something maybe which is a tangential in nature, not so much directly related to what is discussed today. But I would like to just know your point of view on that. That since the problem of urban poor is primarily also because of a lot of interstate migration is happening. So will some efforts on uh, keeping the job, you can say, kind of scenario, such kind of things, so that the people from the same state get the job in that state only, will this help in some urban poor kind of scenario? And second, if we were saying that lot of you can say schemes are at a very bare minimum level in India. So suppose if the government wants to scale up the schemes for urban poor, then probably in thought that how, because we are not a we are still a developing country, how the money for that would be coming up. So just although a tangential say query, but I just wanted to understand your point of view on that, please.
So here I would say that two things. One is, if it is not restricted for formal, uh, the people who are working in formal setup, if it is not restricted, if boundary is not restricted that you live in this state and you live that state, it should be make available, or the options should be make available to each and every citizen. Wherever you want to go and live, it is your country, you go and live. Only that if we can create a system which can identify the person is from the India and the person is entitled to get the benefits, that system will itself solve the problem. And system which we are saying, that portability, if you can do portability in various other sectors, then why the ration card holder or Aadhaar card holder and IRMAn card holder or DOCW card holder can't get the portability of that that facility to this kind of interventions. So that is my answer, Opibhai. We should definitely make it available. And ideally, if you are developing any state, any region, and that we know that there is regional disparity in terms of money flowing to country, where migrations, which state, which part of the country may have more migrations, and definitely it required some kind of equitable planning for pan India, that how can we improve it. That is not like a denial. We can't deny that we have to do this equitable distribution of resources. Same times, in principle, people should have option to move across the country and enable the system to get wherever you want to go and get same kind of facility across the country. The second question is, where will you get the resources to do it? And I'm saying, I take my words that there are resources which is like managed by various other schemes in sort in piecemeal effect. There is like for textile one, for PD workers one, for brick and construction workers one, for other schemes one. The moment you see in this in a totality, you can create a pool of resources. And then if you are like creating cess for BOCW, building and other construction cess, and that money is lying in your account, and where are and people are not able to access it because the technical issue, because people's native is different and workplace is different. It means that there are resources which can be like used for developing a holistic, comprehensive development plan for the country. And last one is, it's we are talking about fundamental rights of the people. It's a right to life and right to live a dignified life in the country, and nobody should left behind. So as a priority for the state also, it needs to be given, and a priority is there, then you can definitely allocate resources and put cess on it. So there are ways, maybe there are more economists here, or maybe economists can suggest, but I'm saying that the experts are suggesting that there are ways and resources which can be really used to do things in a very comprehensive way.
Thanks. Thank you.
So, hello. So
Yes,
this is
Santolan.
not a question. coming to the Om Prakash question. So in my past organization where I was working, Urban Management Center, so they have worked on migration. Like there are so many migrant workers who are migrating from Ganjam district of Odisha to Surat for diamond processing and all. So there was some MOU signed between both the governments. Now those who are migrating either from Ganjam to Surat or vice versa. So the local government is providing them all the necessary facilities or the entitlements, be it if if the migrant worker is having ration card of Odisha, he can avail the benefit of PDS system in Surat. In the same way for medical facility and all. So they have done something like that. I'm not having detailed information about that, but my batchmate Prerna is working with Urban Management Center. If someone is willing to know in details, she can help.
Yeah, yeah. So when even Odisha and Andhra Pradesh have this kind of MOU between these two states, and the children are like moving from Odisha to Andhra, children will get admission and all these scholarship, all the facilities they can get it. So this kind of MOU and progressive state, very progressive in that nature, we can see across the country. There are things, but it is like not in a big way. You will see some state has done, some administration has taken initiative like that.
Okay, thank you.
Any other question which we might have missed? And if we do not have any question, then should I ask Ritesh and hand over the session to him?
Yeah. Thanks, Praveen. Thanks, sir, for kindly agreeing to do this session. And it's very interesting. And thanks to all the other participants for patiently listening and asking questions, particularly Anshuman and Om Prakash and other people. I hope we will keep interacting more through these sessions. And a few days back, some people asked me what's the objective of this session. So let's say there are two reasons. First, it's great to have people like you who have been working in different areas to share not only their theory we learned in IRMA, but real life issues and real life solutions. That's number one. And also at the beginning of this session, when Praveen joined and Harsh joined, Archana was there. He said, Gandhiji, good to see you after so many years. So I believe that's the most important reason we want people across the batches and in the same batch to come together and at least see each other virtually. I believe this adds to our, IRMA bond. We may be far off, but these small things adds to it. So, very thank you very much to all who have been here today from IA side and from me personally. If you have any feedback about the session, or if you or any of your batchmate wants to do another session, please write to us and we will take that request into consideration and we'll share the form and you can come and speak on the topic which will be useful to us all. Thank you very much. I will stop the recording session, and if any of you want to interact informally, you can do it now.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Praveen sir. It was a very interesting session. I got to know a lot of new things.